I'm just gonna say it. I am beyond hyped for Nightreign. In my eyes, From Software is a studio that has made amazing games for over a decade and a half with, honestly, not a single bad one. Now, obviously, we can sit down and talk about the failure of every single game. They all have some form of feature or design decision that is a bit unpleasant or just not that fun. But at the end of the day, I want to ask the question, does it really matter in most of those cases? I feel like not really, and because of that, all of the games they've made are games I enjoyed for hundreds of hours. Nightreign, I think, has the potential to be the same. I haven't been disappointed once, and it doesn't matter if we are talking about Souls games, if we are talking about a rhythm game like Sekiro, or if we are talking about a mech game like Armored Core 6. They've all been amazing experiences for me, and I just know that Nightreign will be the same. That said, it being a game that is not restricted by anything, I feel like we're gonna end up seeing some really wild stuff. One of them being obviously the presence of old bosses. So far, I believe that 3 of them have been confirmed. The Centipede Demon from Dark Souls 1, Duke's Dear Freya from Dark Souls 2, and obviously the big one, the Nameless King. Tarnished Warrior. This stuff. I'm fucking your brother! Now, of course, them being here is something that I'm very excited about, but I think we have to talk about one thing in particular here. Now, obviously, the fact that we can fight them with some new weapons, new toys, with more people, is just something that is a breath of fresh air, in my eyes at least. That said, I feel like it would be amazing if, at the very least, they would end up providing more moves for some of these bosses. I mean, let's be honest, Dark Souls 1 is 13 years old at this point. It's basically the perfect age for a YouTuber to date now. We have to admit the fights aren't really that good, at least compared to something like Dark Souls 3 or Bloodborne even. And because we can see that they are gonna have at least one boss from there, the Centipede Demon, I think it's fair to believe that they are gonna try to find ways to make it on par with newer bosses. I'm not saying that they have to make it have more health or more damage or whatever. I'm sure that it's gonna be fairly balanced, I'm not worried about that. But I just really hope that the bosses, the old ones at least, are gonna be updated accordingly, you know. I'm not saying they have to be like Elden Ring bosses, where they read every single input. No, that's not what I want. But I just think that a bit of more complexity would be beneficial for everybody, really. And speaking of bosses, there is obviously one thing that we have to talk about. Boss weapons. There are a couple ones that I really hope are gonna return from the older games. Of course, ideally, I would love it if every single weapon came back. You know what? Every single Dark Souls 1 weapon, the gold and silver tracer, give it to me. Everything from Dark Souls 2, I don't know, the Bone Fist, yes please. The Pursuer Greatsword, yes. The Dragon Slayer Spear, yes. Give it to me, all of it. Especially the Farron Greatsword from Dark Souls 3. I would be very happy if we ended up with trick weapons, you know, like the ones in Bloodborne. But because, well, Sony owns Bloodborne, I feel like there's not really any chance that we're gonna see the weapons. I mean, let's be honest, for all I know, it's very very likely that Sony has patented the trick weapons, just so that From Software cannot use them. Now obviously this is a joke, but you never know with Japanese companies. Anyway, besides just having access to boss weapons from the previous games, there is one more thing I would love to see. Does anybody else remember the infusions from Dark Souls 2? I just really enjoy the fact that you can use them for almost any weapon. It doesn't matter if you get a boss weapon or a normal, regular weapon. You could still infuse them if you wanted to. Now obviously there were a couple exceptions that you couldn't, but it was a very small number of them. Maybe I'm stupid, but I have very fond memories of the infusion system from Dark Souls 2. Also on the topic of infusions, well, kind of, it's more Ash of War related rather than weapon element, but I think it's one of the most underutilized features of Elden Ring, and I just think it could be way better. You know how in Limgrave you have this one knight, and if you kill him, you get Golden Vow, the Ash of War? The reason why that is so special is because there's also a spell called Golden Vow, and it's just a better version of the Ash of War. But the big distinction is that you can use this Ash of War even if you don't have any fate. What I'm trying to say is that I think it would be amazing if we ended up having more buff spells that are an Ash of War. Last but not least, I want to talk about one more little thing, let's just say. If anything, it's just a small pet peeve of mine. I kind of wish Torrent had more customization options. I just wish I could make it so that my character could match Torrent in looks. I also kind of wish we had more mounts, let's just say. Now, of course, imagine if you could kill the Nameless King and he could drop his brother as a mount. Like, that would be amazing, man. But anyway, that's about it for me, and I'm excited. That's basically the bottom line of it. Regardless, I hope you're gonna have great days ahead of you, and I will see you again soon. Take care, everybody.
You may rest here too, if you like.